welcome to Babble About Books. My name is Tavia, and today you are joining me for my monthly TBR game, Spiraling Out of Books. So this is my board game, and the point is I roll the dice. The dice has a corresponding genre, and I move those spaces and I pick a book within that genre. Before I was pulling out of a jar, but that kind of was putting me in reading slumps because I wasn't picking up books I wanted to read. So instead I changed it to where I just pick out a book that I own out of that genre myself. And so, yeah, if I don't finish a book within a month, I have to do a punishment. And then the whole point is to get to the middle and get a book haul. You start here and you spiral into the middle. And so, yeah, I will have videos linked either down below or, sorry, my animals are playing. So yeah, that is my monthly TBR game, Spiraling Out of Books. And we are going to go over what I read in March. I did read quite a lot in March. I did have 3 books that I rolled from February into March. February was in a good month for me, so I gave myself a little leeway. 1, it being a short month, and 2, just everything that happened in February. I kind of felt it was fair that I should be able to roll the books over as long as I was able to read them in the month. So let's go over the books that I rolled over. I guess I should say that I'm allowed to roll 1 book over as long as I've started it in the month. But this, in March, I let myself have 3. So the first one was 7th Decimate by Stephen Donaldson. I read this and finished, well, I had started all of these books in February. And I finished this within the first couple days, I think, before I even put, or like right about the day that I put up my March TBR. So I did read and finish this in March. And then The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller was also a rollover. I'm not done with it yet. It is the 28th as of right now, and I have like 5 chapters left. So after I'm done recording this, I'm going to do some laundry and listen to it on audiobooks, so I should be able to definitely finish this by the 31st. And then last but not least, Monster by Walter Dean Myers, adapted by Guy A. Sims. I have not picked this up at all this month, but this is going to be a pretty quick read. It's just a graphic novel. I'm finding I'm not a huge fan of graphic novels, which is probably why I haven't picked this up, but like I said, it's the 28th. It's a graphic novel. They're pretty quick and easy to read through, so I'm definitely going to finish this before the month ends. So, yeah. Okay, and now for the books that were actually on my TBR for March. The first one that I read it and finished was Time Sight by Lynn Jonell. This was for the Buzzwordathon Time Sight, or Time in the title, so Time Sight. I read this within the first week of the month. Really good. It was a middle grade, so that was perfect because it fit into my TBR game and for the Buzzwordathon. So Time Sight is about these 2 kids who go to Scotland. So Will and Jamie are 2 brothers that go to Scotland. Something's happened to their mom, so they're going and staying with some cousins. And Will has this thing called Time Sight, and sorry if this is a little bit of spoilery, but it's kind of like Magic Tree House, but for middle grade, because I feel like Magic Tree House is kind of like elementary school, primary, stuff like that. And so I feel like this is a middle grade version of that with like chapters. There are some pictures throughout, which was really cool. But yeah, basically these 3 kids just time jump and learn about their history and, you know, their family history and the history of Scotland and all that. It was really, really good. I do highly recommend it. I do want to pick up some more work by her, but yeah. So I read this and I enjoyed it. The second book I read and finished was Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I absolutely enjoyed it. I'm very confused on why it was written. It feels like it's just a fictional autobiography of a kid named Pip. But I really, really enjoyed it. It was really, really slow to begin with. There's 59 chapters in it. It's a chunky boy. But I enjoyed it for the most part. Like, up until like the last 15 chapters, it was pretty slow. And I was kind of just like, yeah, it's a good storyline. And then the last like 15 chapters, really, the whole book really built up to the last like 15 chapters. And you just learn so much. And like, there's so many things that are like gone into depth and explained that you didn't see coming, and so everything that the book built up to was definitely worth, to me, you know, how slow it kind of was within the first 45 chapters or whatnot. Really enjoyed it. It is definitely a slow read, but yeah, it's about a kid named Pip who becomes a gentleman and kind of his journey through life. And so I would say if you're into classics, I definitely would pick this one up. Okay, and then the third book that I read and finished in March was Twilight, the graphic novel, volume 1. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of graphic novels. This is only volume 1. There is a second volume to the first Twilight book in the graphic novel form. And I just feel like for the first half of the book that they did graphic novel, they did take out a lot of stuff. But it did really make me want to go pick up the other Twilight books and reread them again. But yeah, overall it was good. I love the art style. They're basically how, like, I imagined they would be. There we go. It definitely, the characters definitely look like how I thought they would look when I was reading the books. So that was really, really nice. But yeah, so I enjoyed the book. I mean, it did take out quite a bit. But other than that, it very nostalgic, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, so I finished this. Okay, and then the fourth book I read and finished this month, I don't actually physically own, I listened to it. And it is I Am Number 4 by Piticus Lore. Absolutely loved it. Definitely was a book that was very, very similar to the movie. I feel like there was only a few different action scenes that, you know, they added into the movie, but that kind of makes sense because, you know, it's a movie, so you gotta get those little punches in. But I did really enjoy it. I flew through it. I think it only took me like 3 days to listen to it because I just listened to it non-stop. But yeah, so the third or fourth book that I finished in March was I Am Number 4 by Piticus Lore, which wasn't on my TBR. It was just one that I had picked up and started listening to when I was at work one day. 2 more books on my TBR. And that one is going to be The Apartment by Greg Baxter. I am about 50% of the way through this. I'm not really enjoying it, so it is definitely taking me a while. But I planned out my days, and I should be able to finish this book and the next book by the end of the month, and the other 2 books that I have to finish, because it is the 28th. So I've still got like 3 days, and if I have to roll one over, that's totally fine. I get one rollover. So yeah, I'm reading The Apartment by Greg Baxter. It's okay. It's intriguing enough that I'm sitting and listening to it, but it's not one that I'm like reaching for instantly. But yeah, so I'm about halfway through this, and I will hope to finish this by Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. But yeah, so I'm just not a huge fan of the writing style. It's about this guy who goes to an unnamed place, and this girl's helping him find an apartment. Basically, all that's happening right now. It's very cryptic. You really don't know much about his past, and you don't know much about her past, and at this point they're just looking for an apartment for him, basically it. So there's that. And then we've got Dinosaurs on Other Planets. I'm about 90 pages into this. This is my first short story collection ever, and I don't know how I feel about it, just because I feel like every time like the story's getting really good, it ends, and then I'm like, wait, but I want more. But the stories that I've read so far, I think I've read like 4 or 5, are pretty good, very intriguing, more of like a mystery element to them, as you're trying to put together, you know, the storyline behind it. But yeah, so I'm enjoying this, and, you know, I'm trying to read a couple stories out of this a night to finish it by Wednesday, but I definitely have a feeling I'll be able to finish it by Wednesday. And if not, this is probably will be the one that I roll over, just because I can't find it audibly. Is audibly even a word? I've been saying it, and I really hope it's a word, because if not, I'm just going to look like an idiot on the internet. Which, meh. Anyways, but yeah, so I can't listen to it audibly, so this is probably, if I do roll a book over, this is definitely going to be the one that I roll over. Okay, and then the last book that I'm also reading this month, this one isn't on my TBR. It's just one that I'm reading for a read-along, and that's called Truthwitch by Susan Denard. I'm about 120 pages into it. I don't have a feeling I'll be able to finish this by the end of the month, but I want to finish it before the live show. So I need to figure out when that is. But yeah, I'm about 100 pages into it, so like 20% maybe. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I am listening to this audibly, audio, however you want to call it right now. But yeah, so I'm enjoying it. Can't really say too much about it except these two people are Truthwitch. They're threaded together and they're kind of getting into some trouble very beginning of the book. Yeah, but other than that, I really can't say too much about it. Okay, so we're starting on 36. We are doing 5 rolls. Let's start with the first one. Seven, which is nonfiction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, for the first roll, we rolled a 7 for nonfiction, and for that I am choosing Hidden Figures by Margaret Chatelli. Basically it is about, I want to say there's 3 people on the cover, Tavia. Okay, so 3 NASA mathematicians who worked on getting the first, oh my gosh. Basically, it's about 3 African American women who were mathematicians during World War II that really helped NASA and were really big players in NASA's achievements back in the 1960s. And so it's just their story and, you know, that. So I'm excited to read this. I started it and got to page 52 like 5 years ago. So I'm excited to pick it back up because I was enjoying it back then too. And so I'm just excited to learn about some people who, you know, made big progresses and were very, you know, impactful in our history that aren't really talked about. And so the fact that there's a book written about them, it's a movie now, I'm excited. My dog is going to join us. Here. Okay. We've got a 3, which is YA fantasy. For the second roll, we got 3 for a YA fantasy, and for that I am picking up Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tommy Adeyemi. I read the first one back in January or December, I want to say. Loved it, and I've been waiting to pick it back up. So yeah, I'm excited to finally be able to put this on my TBR and read it this month. The first book is about, Zelie, her brother, her brother's not Amari. So this is about Zelie, Amari, and Zane, I want to say is how you pronounce their name. Zelie and Zane are brother and sister, and Amari is, you know, she's a princess, I want to say, if I remember correctly. And basically it's their journey to getting magic back to their lands, and that's the first one. So this is the second book. I don't know if it's going to be if it's just a duology, a trilogy, or whatnot. But yeah, I'm going to be picking up the second book. Got a 9. Which is a graphic novel. Okay, and then for the third roll, we've got 9 for graphic novel, and for that I am picking up Twilight, the graphic novel, volume 2. I did lose the Dust Jacket moving a couple years back, so sadly it's just no Dust Jacket, but I'm going to be picking this up. I know I said I'm not a huge fan of graphic novels. I rolled it, so I kind of have to read one, which is fine because Twilight, love it. So yeah, I will be reading Twilight graphic novel volume 2. got a 12, which is other. Okay, and for the fourth roll, I got 12 for other, and for that I am picking up Hidden by Helen Frost, and I believe it is a poetry book. So yeah, that's all I know about it, is that it's poetry. I like poetry, so. And it's quite short, so it'll be a pretty quick, easy read for me. And the last roll. Which is a 1, which is middle grade. 1. Okay, so we're gonna land on 56. And last but not least, roll number 5, I got a 1 for middle grade. And for that, I am picking up Arusha and the End of Time by Roshni Chachki. I hope I did not butcher that name. I've heard it enough that I think I'm pronouncing it right. If I'm not, I apologize. But basically, it's about this girl who ends up bringing something from somewhere, and it's her journey to fixing what she did wrong. That's all I kind of know about it. It was really, when I first started thinking about doing my booktube channel, this was all the rage. So I bought it, I own it, I'm excited to read it. I like mythology books. I believe this is a mythology book. But yeah, so I'm going to be picking up Arusha and the End of Time by Roshni Chachki. I'm just going to stop saying it now because I feel like I'm just getting worse at saying it the more I say it. So yeah, that is what I'm picking up for my middle grade book. And then because I am participating in Witchland Along by J.D. Ray Reads, I will also be picking up Wind Witch. And you're thinking, Tavia, you had a YA roll. Why didn't you just toss this on there? Because I like making my life hard and difficult, and I really wanted to pick up Children of Virtue and Vengeance. And yeah, so I just like making my life a little harder. If anything, I'll just swap this out in place of Virtue of Vengeance, but I really wanted to get to that, so I was just like, this is the perfect opportunity. I don't know when I'm going to be rolling YA again. I plan on reading this regardless up until we're done with the Witchland Along. So yeah, I am also going to be picking up Wind Witch and reading it this month. So this month I've got 6 books on my TBR. I have a feeling I'll be able to do it very easily just because this month I flew through so many of them. So these are all the books I'll be reading this month. And yeah, that's all I've got for you. Okay, so that is my April TBR. If you liked this video, hit that like and subscribe, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!